Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to explore something truly powerful that has changed my life and might just change yours too, the art of staying silent and letting karma do its work. Before we dive in, I want to encourage you to watch this entire video. I know we're all busy and that skip button is tempting, but what I'm about to share isn't just quick advice, it's a perspective shift that requires context and understanding. The most valuable lessons often take time to unfold, just like karma itself. So grab a drink, get comfortable, and let's embark on this journey together. There's something profoundly powerful about choosing silence in the face of wrongdoing. Not a silence born of weakness or fear, but a deliberate silence, one that comes from inner strength and wisdom. This concept aligns beautifully with ancient Stoic philosophy, a school of thought that has guided countless individuals through life's challenges for over 2,000 years. Today we'll explore how staying silent and allowing karma to work isn't just about passive acceptance, it's about strategic wisdom, inner peace, and understanding the natural order of the universe. Whether you call it karma, natural consequences, or cosmic justice, there's a universal truth here that transcends cultural boundaries. The power of deliberate silence. Think about the last time someone wronged you. Perhaps they spread rumors, betrayed your trust, or treated you unfairly. What was your immediate reaction? For most of us, the instinct is to defend ourselves, to strike back, to prove them wrong. But what if there's more power in silence? The ancient Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." This simple observation carries profound wisdom. When we rush to defend ourselves or retaliate, we often escalate situations and entangle ourselves further in unnecessary drama. I remember when a colleague took credit for my work on a major project. My initial impulse was to confront them publicly, to set the record straight. Instead, I chose silence, not out of fear, but with intentionality. Within weeks, they attempted the same approach on another project, but couldn't deliver because they lacked the knowledge and skills. Their reputation suffered naturally, while mine remained intact. I didn't need to say a word. Karma handled it. Silence isn't about suppressing your emotions or being a doormat. It's about choosing your battles wisely. The Stoics called this the dichotomy of control, understanding what's within your power and what isn't. Your reactions are within your control, other people's actions are not. Stoicism and karma, ancient wisdom for modern challenges are. Let's connect these dots between Stoicism and the concept of karma, which might seem like they come from completely different traditions, but they share remarkable similarities. Stoicism emerged in ancient Greece around 300 BCE, while karma is a concept central to several Eastern philosophies, including Hinduism and Buddhism. Yet both philosophies recognize a natural order to the universe, a cause and effect relationship in human actions. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote in his meditations, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." This perspective aligns perfectly with our theme today. When someone wrongs you, transforming yourself into someone equally vengeful only creates more negativity in the world and within yourself. The Stoics believed in living according to nature and virtue. They understood that unethical actions create their own punishment, not necessarily through supernatural means, but through the natural consequences of character and reputation. Seneca, another prominent Stoic, observed, "All cruelty springs from weakness." When people act cruelly or unfairly toward us, this insight helps us see their actions as a reflection of their inner state, not our worth. This realization alone can free us from the perceived need to respond. The psychological benefits of strategic silence. When we choose silence and patience over immediate reaction, we gain significant psychological benefits. First, we preserve our mental energy. Engaging in conflict, planning revenge, or even just mentally rehearsing arguments consumes enormous emotional resources. By choosing silence, we redirect that energy toward productive pursuits. Second, we maintain our dignity and composure. As Epictetus advised, make it your study not to be carried away by excitement. Nothing demonstrates self-mastery more clearly than remaining composed when provoked. Third, we gain perspective. Immediate reactions often come from our most primitive brain functions. By pausing and allowing time to pass, we engage our higher reasoning and can see situations more clearly. I experienced this firsthand when a friend shared something I had told them in confidence. Initially, I was furious and drafted several angry messages, none of which I sent. Days later, I discovered they had shared my story because they were trying to help someone going through something similar. My silence prevented what would have been an unnecessary rift in our friendship. How karma actually works. Let's talk about what karma really means in practice. Many people misunderstand karma as some mystical force that punishes wrongdoers in dramatic ways. While that's a comforting thought when we've been wronged, the reality is both more subtle and more profound. Karma, at its core, refers to the natural consequences of actions. When someone consistently acts dishonestly, they develop a reputation for dishonesty. When they treat others poorly, people eventually stop trusting or helping them. These aren't supernatural punishments. They're the natural social and psychological consequences of behavior. As Marcus Aurelius wisely noted, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. People who habitually act from places of deception, manipulation, or cruelty gradually transform themselves into individuals who see the world through those lenses. That itself is a form of suffering. When you stay silent instead of retaliating, you're not just waiting for some cosmic punishment to befall your adversary. You're allowing natural consequences to unfold without the interference of your own negative energy. You're choosing not to interrupt the lessons they need to learn. The patience of natural justice. One of the most challenging aspects of letting karma handle situations is patience. We live in an instant gratification culture where we expect immediate results. Justice, however, often moves at its own pace. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, taught that patience is not just a virtue, but a form of power. Well-being is attained by little and little, and nevertheless is no little thing itself, he said. The same applies to natural justice. It builds gradually, but arrives with undeniable force. I've witnessed this many times throughout my life. A business competitor once used underhanded tactics to steal several clients. Rather than engaging in a public dispute or retaliatory measures, I focused on improving our services and deepening relationships with our remaining clients. Within a year, most of those clients returned, citing poor service and ethical concerns with their brief experience elsewhere. Had I engaged in a public battle, I might have appeared petty or desperate, potentially driving those clients away permanently. Remember that karma, or natural justice, often works on a different timeline than our immediate desires for vindication. The Stoic philosopher Cleanthes put it beautifully when he said, "The willing are led by fate, the reluctant dragged." When we align ourselves with the natural order of consequences rather than fighting against it, we experience less suffering. When to break the silence now, an important clarification. Staying silent doesn't mean never taking action or speaking up. There are absolutely times when silence is not the appropriate response, particularly in cases of abuse, injustice against others, or situations where speaking up serves a greater good. The Stoics were not passive observers of life. They were active participants who believed in justice and virtue. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the object of life is not to be on the side of the majority, but to escape finding oneself in the ranks of the insane. Sometimes this means breaking silence. The key is discernment, understanding when speaking serves virtue and when it merely serves the ego. Here are some questions to ask yourself. Am I speaking to protect myself or others from genuine harm? Is my desire to speak coming from virtue or from wounded pride? Will speaking contribute to justice or merely to conflict? Have I given myself enough time to respond with reason rather than reaction? The great Stoic Epictetus advised, first tell yourself what kind of person you want to be, then do what you have to do. If being a person of integrity means speaking up in a particular situation, then that's what virtue demands. The art is in discerning which response, speech or silence, truly serves wisdom. Practical ways to master the art of silence. Let's talk about how to practically apply this philosophy in your daily life. Because, let's be honest, staying silent when you've been wronged is easier said than done. First, develop a pause ritual. When provoked or wronged, give yourself a mandatory waiting period before responding. This might be 24 hours for significant issues, or simply taking 3 deep breaths for minor provocations. During this time, the initial emotional surge will often subside. Second, practice perspective taking. The Stoics frequently engaged in an exercise called the view from above, imagining events from a cosmic perspective. Ask yourself, 5 years from now, will this matter? Many of our perceived injuries shrink when viewed through this lens. Third, keep a reflection journal. Writing about your experiences, especially difficult ones, helps process emotions without external expression. Marcus Aurelius' meditations began as precisely this: personal reflections never intended for publication. Fourth, study examples of natural consequences. Start noticing how situations resolve themselves without your intervention. Building this evidence base in your mind will strengthen your trust in the process when future challenges arise. Fifth, redirect your energy. When the urge to respond or retaliate arises, channel that energy into something productive. Exercise, creative work, or acts of kindness for others. This transforms potentially destructive energy into something positive. As Seneca advised, he who spends time getting even has no time to get ahead. By choosing silence and redirecting your energy, you invest in your own growth rather than in conflict. The inner freedom of non-reaction, one of the most profound benefits of mastering strategic silence, is the inner freedom it creates. When we learn not to react to every provocation, we experience a form of liberation that few people ever know. Epictetus, who began his life as a slave before becoming one of history's greatest philosophers, understood freedom better than most. He taught that true freedom comes not from controlling external events, but from controlling our responses to them. Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens, he counseled. When someone insults you and you feel no compulsion to respond, that's freedom. When you can observe someone spreading falsehoods about you and remain centered in your truth without defense, that's power. When you can wish well to those who have wronged you, that's mastery. This inner freedom creates a remarkable paradox. By relinquishing the need to control how others behave or what consequences they face, we gain greater control over our own experience of life. We no longer live at the mercy of others' actions or opinions. I experienced this transformation gradually over years of practice. Situations that once would have consumed days of my mental energy now pass through my awareness with minimal disturbance. This isn't indifference, it's discernment. I still feel the full range of human emotions, but I'm no longer controlled by them. Learning from nature's example. Nature itself provides the perfect model for this philosophy. Consider how the natural world responds to disruption, not with desperate resistance, but with patient adaptation. A river doesn't fight the boulder in its path. It simply flows around it, A tree doesn't struggle against the wind, it bends without breaking. After a forest fire, new growth emerges from the ashes without complaint about what was lost. Marcus Aurelius observed this when he wrote, "Adapt yourself to the things among which your lot has been cast, and love sincerely the fellow creatures with whom destiny has ordained that you shall live." Nature doesn't resist what is. It works with it, through it, and often transforms it. When we stay silent and allow natural consequences to unfold, we align ourselves with this cosmic pattern. We become like the river, flowing around obstacles rather than exhausting ourselves in futile resistance against what already is. Karma versus revenge, understanding the difference. It's crucial to distinguish between letting karma handle things and secretly hoping for revenge. The former comes from wisdom and alignment with natural law. The latter from ego and a desire for others' suffering. Revenge keeps us tethered to the person who wronged us. As Confucius wisely noted, before you embark on a journey of revenge, dig 2 graves. Seeking revenge, even passively, by hoping karma punishes someone, keeps us psychologically bound to negative experiences. True liberation comes when we can sincerely wish for everyone's growth and learning, even those who have wronged us. This doesn't mean excusing harmful behavior. It means understanding that the natural consequences of actions provide the necessary lessons for all involved. Epictetus captures this perfectly. When you are offended at any man's fault, turn to yourself and study your own failings. Then you will forget your anger. This perspective shift from focusing on others' wrongdoings to our own growth is the essence of spiritual maturity. Building resilience through acceptance. Another benefit of this philosophy is the resilience it builds. When we learn to accept what has happened without excessive reaction, we develop psychological hardiness that serves us throughout life. The Stoics practiced an exercise called premeditation of evils, mentally rehearsing potential challenges, so they wouldn't be caught off guard when difficulties arose. Similarly, when we accept that people will sometimes act unfairly and that our response doesn't need to match their energy, we prepare ourselves for life's inevitable disappointments. This resilience becomes a form of freedom. As Epictetus said, freedom is not procured by a full enjoyment of what is desired, but by controlling the desire. When we no longer desire immediate justice or vindication, we free ourselves from dependence on external outcomes. I found that this approach builds confidence over time. When you know you can face unfair treatment without losing your center, you move through the world with greater ease. Situations that might devastate others become valuable learning experiences, creating your legacy. Through response, every response or non-response shapes who we become. When we react with anger and vengeance, we strengthen those neural pathways and become more likely to respond similarly in the future. When we choose measured silence and allow natural consequences to unfold, we cultivate wisdom and patience. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the best way to avenge yourself is to not be like the wrongdoer. By choosing silence over retaliation, patience over immediate gratification, and wisdom over reaction, we create a different kind of legacy. Consider how you want to be remembered. As someone quick to anger and retaliation, or as someone whose quiet strength and dignity inspired others. The choices we make in moments of provocation define us more clearly than almost anything else. Conclusion: the quiet path to peace. As we conclude our exploration of this powerful philosophy, let me emphasize that staying silent and letting karma handle things isn't about passivity or weakness. It's about aligning yourself with the natural order of the universe. It's about recognizing, as the Stoics did, that true power comes from mastering yourself, not controlling others. Seneca offered this timeless wisdom. The greatest remedy for anger is delay. When we delay our reactions, sometimes indefinitely, we often find that no reaction was needed at all. The situation resolves itself. People reveal their true characters and natural consequences unfold without our intervention. This approach offers something precious in our noisy, reactive world: peace. Not just external peace, but the deep internal quiet that comes from knowing you don't need to fight every battle, correct every misconception, or avenge every wrong. There is profound freedom in this realization. I encourage you to try this approach the next time you feel wronged or mistreated. Give yourself the gift of silence, not forever, but long enough to respond from wisdom rather than reaction. Watch what happens when you step back and allow the natural order of things to unfold. You may be surprised by how often justice arrives without your assistance. As Epictetus wisely counseled, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Sometimes, appearing to do nothing is the most powerful something you can do. Thank you for staying with me throughout this exploration. I hope these ideas serve you well on your journey toward greater wisdom, peace, and self-mastery. Remember that the most meaningful growth often happens in silence, both external and internal. Until next time, may you find strength in stillness and wisdom in patience.